Hello, everyone. Today I want to share with you a novel full of fantasy elements. The novel features a very captivating setting, the Academy-esque class system. The Academy is divided into 4 classes, with the lowest being the Gene, who are unable to shift, and the highest being the heirs, who have pure bloodlines, and our female protagonist, Nova, as the werewolf heir, should enjoy the highest status. But due to her background and experiences, she is at odds with this class system. Her relationships with others in the Academy, including other heirs, are full of contradictions and conflicts. The identity issue under this class system and the resulting interpersonal entanglements make the whole story full of drama and appeal. Chapter 8. I observed the council members and their heirs hastily exiting the war room in the wake of Nova's departure. The expansive chamber, once bustling with activity, now stood eerily quiet. Only my father and I remained, the tension between us palpable in the silence. "Phoenix," my father murmured, his pens crashing against the pages of his planner with an unsettling urgency. I stood at attention, my posture rigid as I awaited his next words. "Yes, father," I responded, my voice carefully neutral. He didn't look up as he spoke, his words carrying a weight that made my stomach churn. "I want you to keep an eye on the girl for me. Get close to her. Learn her habits, her likes and dislikes. Learn everything about her and report back to me." I felt my body stiffen, shock coursing through me. This request went against everything we stood for as Penta members. Spying on other members or their heirs was strictly forbidden, a rule put in place to maintain the trust that was crucial to the pack's survival. The very idea of surveilling Nova made me feel physically ill. Cautiously, I attempted to reason with him. "I don't have many classes with her," I said, struggling to keep my tone neutral. "I am almost 3 years older than her and about to graduate. I don't think." My father's eyes flashed with anger as he cut me off. "I don't want to know what you think," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "I want you to do what I ask, but—" I began, only to be silenced as he abruptly stood, invading my personal space. His hand shot out, gripping my face with bruising force, forcing me to meet his gaze. I flinched but remained still, knowing that any sign of resistance would only provoke his wolf, which was already simmering just beneath the surface. The threat of violence hung heavy in the air between us. "Do as I say, boy," he snarled, his claws breaking the skin of my face. "Or else you'll drag your sister back from that hippity-dippity school in France and have her do it." At the mention of my sister, my heart plummeted. The thought of her being pulled into this twisted game filled me with dread, and I knew I had no choice but to comply with my father's demands, no matter how much it went against everything I believed in. I finally just got from underneath our father's controlling claws and didn't want her to be brought back in just as she was starting to find herself. She didn't deserve to be wrapped up in this chess game my father was concocting, and while I hated to be a pawn in his game, I would do everything in my power to make sure my little sister stayed out of whatever plans he had brewing in that sick head of his. "What about your rules of never getting too close to the other heirs?" I croaked. "What makes her exempt from the rules?" His eyes gleamed. "She'll be a powerful tool to have on our side. A tool, not an ally," because all he cared about was gaining more power, no matter what it cost. "Okay, father," I inclined my head. "Leave it to me." He grinned at me, releasing my face before giving it a light pat. When pulling back his hands, my eyes locked on the blood staining them. "Now go clean yourself up before talking to the girl." He stalked away. Wouldn't want to make a bad impression on her. After all, Nova. Tears streamed down Mom's face as she clutched me tighter to her body. The boys were clinging to my leg, their little sobs making my heart break as they rubbed their snot-filled noses against the leg pajama pants. "I'm so sorry," Mom cried, clutching me tighter to her. "I am so sorry, baby girl." "I understand why you did it," I murmured into her wild red hair, inhaling the scent of gardenia. "And honey, did you know what I really am?" She pulled back, giving me a confused look. "What-oh? So they didn't tell her what I was or who my parents were?" I guess she didn't need to know, considering she wasn't from this world. That she was human god. I cowled and trapped my head around the fact that I wasn't human. I was a shifter. I turned into a wolf. And not just any wolf shifter. I was the last heir to a wolf empire I had absolutely no idea how to run. I pushed those thoughts away from my head, trying to enjoy the final movements with the only family I have left in the world. Where are we going, Nova? Jax cried just as James silently gripped my leg tight and why aren't you coming with us? I gently pried their little hands off of my pant legs, squatting down to their level and pulling them towards me. I'm going to college, remember, bud? I murmured into JX's ear, brushing my fingers through James' hair. We talked about this, buddy. You're supposed to go to the one near our house. He shook his head, his free eyes wide as he looked around. Not. I saw a big coyote outside, James whispered, grabbing my face in his cubby hands and redirecting my attention to him like a really big one. What if they tried to eat you? I winced knowing that what he saw, in fact, wasn't a coyote but a wolf shifter. It'll be okay, bud. I pushed his blonde hair away from his cherub-like face. They have a special coyote security team to protect the students here. Like these guys, Jack said, looking at the shifters decked out in suits and tactical gear surrounding us. There protect you from the mean animals. I winced. Yeah, buddy. It's time, a gruff voice said from behind us. We should get going if we want to make our flight. I turned my head fractionally and shot the guard an icy glare. One more minute. I ignored his protests and kissed the tops of my brothers' heads, inhaling their violet, powdery and candy-like smell. I want you guys to be on your best behavior when I'm gone. No monkey business and no giving Mom a hard time. They clutched me tighter in their shared embrace. We promised to be on our best behavior, NYZ. Good. I straightened and met the water gaze of my mother. Can I talk to you for a minute? She gave me a shaky nod as I ushered the boys to the car, glaring at the grumpy man who reached for my brothers. I got it, I growled, quickly locking them into their respectable car-appropriate seats. I love you both. We love you to NYZ, he echoed through tiny sniffles. My heart broke into pieces. I shut the van's door closed behind them. Anyone leaves or mistreats them when I'm talking to my mother, and you'll have your head on a platter, I growled menacingly at them, watching in satisfaction as they all stiffened and gave each other a look. They nodded towards me as I drew my mother to the side. The place you're going is, I'm told, quite beautiful. I just want you to know that you don't have to worry about anything while you're there. Just focus on you and the boys. She stared at me. What's the catch? No catch, Mom. I shook my head. Just keep the boys in line because they'll be watching your every move 24/7 and report back to the people that brought us here. I don't want to know what happens when we disobey their orders. Who are these people? She whispered. What do they want with us? Extremely powerful people, I muttered back, and they don't want anything from you. Only me. Her eyes widened as she immediately went into Mama Bear mode. And what do they want from you? She snarled, glaring at the agents around us. If they hurt you, I swear to God that I will rain down hell. And Mom. I gripped her shoulders. Breathe. She took a deep breath in, but the fire didn't leave her eyes. Come with us, she gripped my hands. Come with us, and I can protect you. I shook my head even before she finished her sentence. I can't. Why not? Because apparently I was the only child of someone pretty important. She flinched at that, and since that person has passed, the responsibilities they had now fall to me. But more tears filled her beautiful eyes. You're just a baby. Not ready for that responsibility yet. Mom, I smiled down at her, cradling her pale cheek in my hand. I'm 19. Just a baby, she sniffled. My baby. You will forever be my baby. My eyes softened. I love you, Mama. I love you to Nova Nick Street. James, she hugged me fiercely. One last time, stay true to yourself, and don't let them try to turn you into something you're not. You're not only my daughter, but you're your father's daughter too. And while we made some mistakes in the past, we don't regret how we raised you. Because you're ours. Our little warrior. I cowled and helped the little tear that escaped at her declaration of love. A throat cleared behind us as I gave my mother one last hug. Be safe, Mama. I closed my eyes as the sound of engines roaring to life reached my ears. Some slid right up next to me, his silence surprisingly comforting as the SUVs drove further and further away. I'm never going to see them again. Am I? I croaked regardless of the council's empty promises. He said nothing, but it was all the confirmation I needed. I opened my eyes and found Atla staring intensely at me. Do I get a room in this supposed hellhole? I asked, or am I expected to sleep under lock and key? Only coming out to follow through the Penta's will. He narrowed his eyes at my attitude, but still remained silent. I knew the attitude of yours would come back sooner or later. A distinct voice sounded from behind us. It was just a matter of time, I suppose. I whirled and glared at the cocky asshole stalking towards us, his assured steps making him look stupidly like a model. The remaining guards parted like the Red Sea at his arrival, many of them bowing their head in respect at the eldest stare. "I'm not doing your stupid tour today." I glared at him. "I just want to barricade myself in my room with some food and a hot shower. If you can't accept that, then you can fuck right off, Mr. Kidnapper." "You damn well know my name." He glared down at me. "So cut the kidnapper crap right now." I raised my chin at his words. "I don't think I will." A chuckle of laughter sounded from my left, making my eyes dart to Cassian's vibrant green ones. "Great. The Three Stooges are back together," I snarled. "Now, are you going to show me my room or not?" Phoenix looked down at me with a condescending smirk, sweeping his arm out in front of him in a mocking gesture. "After you, Lupine." I smirked right back at him, mimicking his gesture. "No, I insist." "After you, Princess." Atlas' snort made my grin widen. Phoenix's eyes narrowed. "Follow me." He brushed past me, stomping his way into the foliage behind us. Cassian followed right after him, shaking his head and letting out a king noise. A nudge at my back had me turning my head to glare up at Atlas. "No touching," I warned him. "I had to get you moving somehow," he shrugged. "Plus, if you don't catch up with them now, you'll never find the way to your room. You're not coming. It doesn't take 3 geniuses to help one little wolf to her room." He smirked at me. "Plus, I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot of each other soon enough. It's 1 hour away from the lot of you." I ignored his words, stomping towards the foliage to catch up with Idiot 1 and 2. My eyes widened when I realized how far they truly got. Nearly a mile ahead of me already. Well, maybe not a mile, but far enough that by the time I caught up to them, my lungs were on fire and I was wheezing. The only good thing that would come out of this whole wolf ordeal was the fact that I'd finally be able to start that diet and exercise program I've been putting off. Because if classes and dorms were this far at this stupid academy, it'd have to take up running or something to make sure I made it to classes on time. My nose crunched in confusion. "These are the dorms." Cassian let out a snort at my words. Phoenix rolled his eyes. "This is our home," he said. "Cass. Atlas. And his home. I guess it's yours now, too." My eyes widened at his words. "I can't share a space with you 3. I'm a girl. And we're boys." Cassian concluded. "Thanks for the deduction, Princess." I shook my head. "I mean, how is it allowed that I can live with 3 guys? Heirs have been living together since the academy was built like 1,500 years ago." Cassian explained. "It's easier this way. The Penta employs guards around the surrounding area for our protection, and it's easier if we're all in one place rather than spread out on different floors of the dorms. If someone does attack us, then there will be less casualties." I cannot believe I'm the only female heir that has a problem with this. "Well, well. Believe it, Princess." Cassian grinned. "Because you're the first female heir that the Pentas ever had." My mouth gaped open, my eyes swinging towards Phoenix for confirmation. A slight incline of his head. I turned back to Cassian. "What about the foul heir?" I asked. "She's a woman and a heir. Surely she would have lived here too." He shook his head. "Foul was a rather late addition to the Penta," he explained. "She only took over like 10 years ago, when her brother died from some kind of illness. So you're telling me I'm the first ever female-born heir on the Penta Council?" They nodded. "All the previous Penta members and leaders usually have had only male heirs." I pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling a migraine coming on as the last few days began to catch up on me. "There's no other room available." Phoenix shrugged. "You can try to ask the housing department tomorrow on the tour, but with it being this late in the semester, and the wait list being abysmally long as it is, chances are that rooms are all full. Even the ones housing 3 or 4 students together in one suite. So I really don't have another choice. Do I?" "Afraid not, Princess." Cassian chucked my chin gently with his knuckles. "Come on. I'll show you around." Atlas' words came back to me, suddenly making sense. That little shit. He knew about this all along. How does this work? I asked, confused at the architecture of whoever constructed this place. It was like a damned maze. One hallway leading into the next before curving into another one and then branching out into the middle of the pentagon-shaped building. We each have our designated points in the house, Cassie and explained from the middle of the room, twirling with me as he pointed out who roomed where PHE is up front near the door because HE is the oldest and lightest sleeper. Then it's my room. Atlas's room across from mine. Yours in the back. The kitchen dining room. And finally the living room in the middle. Once you figure out which hall houses which room, it'll be easy peasy lemon squeeze. More like stress why it's giving me depress, why I rubbed my temples, whatever. You'll figure it out later. Will you please show me to my room? Cassie and took a step towards me when Phoenix stopped him. You'll show her. I narrowed my eyes at him. No thank you. His blue eyes snapped towards mine. What? No thank you, I repeated. I don't have enough energy to deal with your sass right now. Sass. Cassie and choked out, snickering at the look on Phoenix's face. That is not a verb people here use to describe PHES. Attitude. Phoenix scowled at Cassie Ann, hooking an arm around my shoulders and dragging me into a hallway. I scowled at him. I wanted Cassian to show me to my room. And I wanted the Lupine heir to be nice and docile. He shrugged. Guess we can always get what we want. I growled at him in nice. He snorted. Sure you are. I'm nice to people who don't kidnap me. He shot a glare down at me. Atlas and Phoenix participated in the kidnapping too, you know, but I don't see you giving them half the crap you're giving me. That's because they're only acting like half the dicks you are. I said, you've been a megadick since we've left my house. He shrugged again. I can't help my genetics. A laugh bubbled out of me before I could stop it. He smirked down at me, stopping at an intricately carved door that made me gasp in awe at its beauty. I trailed my fingers at the calligraphy like lettering of the name Lupine. Moons and stars of all different types carved into the wood so finely that it looked like it must have taken hours upon hours or days to create this. Are all the doors labeled like this? Phoenix gave me a short nod. They have our last names. But the designs are different depending on which pack you descend from. And the moons and stars? I asked, grazing my finger across a crescent moon that's the insignia of the Lupine pack. He nodded again. What's your insignia? I asked, looking up at him in curiosity. He just smirked at me. You'll just have to wait to see it for yourself, princess. I rolled my eyes. Really? You're going to be a tease. His smirk turned into a grin, briefly lighting up those sad eyes of his. Apparently, I like being a sassy tease. I smirked at his words, grabbing the brass doorknob and opening the door to the most majestic room I've ever seen. My whole house back home could have fit in this room. I gaped, twirling around the large space and taking in everything from the gigantic king-sized bed to the desk, wardrobe, and small library in the corner that reminded me of something Belle would have from the Beauty and the Beast. This is mine. Only the best room in the house for the Lupine princess. I whirled on him. If I have to cut the kidnapper crap, then you and the others have to cut the princess shit. I'm not a princess, nor will I ever be one. He leaned into me, engulfing me in his heady scent. That's where you're wrong, princess. Vampire deception. I tried Mason and I wet. As an undocumented changeling, I'm forced to cause at the low-level witch. You are a princess. He leaned impossibly closer to me. What the council purposely failed to mention was that with you back, the power shifts from the four of them back to you. The council was created for just that. To counsel you. At the end of the day, when everything is said and done, you have the final say on all matters. The reason why you are our #1 priority to find was because you are royalty princess. You are descended from the first and of all time. Chapter 9, The Tour. Novanix, you've got to be kidding me. I yanked down on the short skirt to no avail. When Phoenix said there were spare uniforms for me to wear at this Wolf Academy, I initially thought he was joking. I mean, he had to be because was opposed college, shifter or otherwise, forced their adult students to wear silly uniforms like they were in high school. Apparently this one did, which leads me to my dilemma at hand. I was a tall, curvy girl, much taller and curvier than girls my age tended to be. I was never athletic. Didn't inherit that gene apparently, because every attempt at a sport always ended up with a broken bone and a bruised ego. And sports just didn't mix, and I was okay with that. What I wasn't okay with was the fact that this skirt was just too short for my all-frame and body type. If I bent over just fractionally, my ass would be showing, and not in a flattering way either, considering that it wasn't as firm as I wanted it to be. The white blouse was fine in of itself, if not for a little loose in the chest area. Unfortunately, being a curvy girl didn't mean I got both the boobs and the butt and mellowed out the explicitly of this horrendous skirt. I would have worn leggings if they were provided to me, but unfortunately, the only thing given to me with these uniforms were thigh-high socks and black pumps with red bottoms and a small black ribbon on top of them. Whoever oversaw uniforms needed to be replaced ASAP because they were letting their cough fantasies take over. The only thing good about these stupid uniforms were the fact that they consisted of dark colors: black, charcoal, and deep burgundy. I sighed, knowing that there was nothing I could do about the uniform today. Maybe, while on the tour, I could ask my guide if there was a way I could get new sets of uniforms, ones that were tailored for my size, as well as throw in a couple of pants in there too. I grabbed my jacket and traveled through the maze that was my new home. After the 5th time taking the wrong hallway, I breathed a sigh of relief when I saw Cassie and chowing down on a bowl of cereal in the living room, watching something on the TV hanging above the fireplace mantel. When his eyes lifted to mine, I saw them bug out as he accidentally choked on a spoonful of what looked like to be cocoa flakes. My heart panged at the little reminded of my brothers. Cocoa flakes were their favorite cereal too. He gasped for breath, and I briefly wondered if choking to death would kill a wolf shifter. Not that my brain was on that topic. What would kill a wolf shifter? Were the legends true? Would a silver bullet to the heart kill me? Still so many unanswered questions I had. Holy shit, Cassie Ann muttered, gazing at my indecent skirt. I think, Phoenix. Atlas, I need your help. Why are you calling them? I hissed at him. Throwing my jacket and bag on the back of the couch was wrong. This better be important, Cassie and Phoenix sighed. Sipping on his coffee, I was just about to finish my... His words trailed off as he caught sight of me in my uniform. Atlas narrowed his eyes from behind his friend. No, absolutely not, Phoenix barked. Go change. Right this instant. Into what, genius? I barked back. All of the skirts are like this. Apparently, whoever was in charge of my uniforms didn't factor in my height as well as the size of my ass. I whirled to emphasize my point, rolling my eyes when I heard 3 tiny growls of displeasure. Cassie and muttered something so low that I cowled and ear him, but his friend sure as hell did. A pink tint and blazed across Atlas' cheeks as he turned around and stalked back into the kitchen. Phoenix's jaw ticked as he stared at my uniform in loathing. You're going to be enough a distraction as it is, he snarled. We don't need something else to add on top of that. It's not like I wanted to come here, I sneered. My anger rising, at least at my college. I was allowed to wear clothes that actually fit. How fast can we get a tailor here? Phoenix ignored me, talking directly to Cassie, and I could probably talk to Cortez to let us. The alarm on my phone blared loudly, reminding me that classes started in 10 minutes. Cassie Ann sighed. We don't have time, PHE. We can't let her walk out of the house like this, he argued, pointing at me. There's going to be enough eyes on her as it is with being the last Lupine heir, let alone the last female Lupine heir. Cassie Ann grumbled at his friend's words, rubbing a palm to his eye. What if I give her a pair of my trousers? I soft he'll be swimming in them. He smirked at me. You calling me THICC princess? I'm calling you a giant. I smirked right back at him. I'm tall, but you're ogre level tall. He let out a mock gasp. Can we get back to the matter at hand? Phoenix snapped at us. I rather have you swimming in Cassian's pants than have you flashing the entire school campus. I snickered at the thought of swimming in Cassian's pants. The words, although innocent enough, conjured up a very naughty image in my mind. Bad Nova. I chastised myself. Do not think about your kidnappers that way. The shoes don't help, Atlas grumbled from the kitchen doorway, interrupting my internal thoughts. They had too. Her legs look longer in them. I can at least help in that aspect, Cassian said, running out of the room. He returned a moment later with a familiar pair of shoes in his hands. My dogs. I squealed, reaching for them, and kicking off the stupid heels. Where did you find these? How do you have them? I saw them by your front door, he grinned sheepishly at me, and since you weren't wearing any shoes the night we brought you home, I decided that these would do when you woke up. I shot him a grateful smile, lacing up the last lace of my shoe as tightly as I could. I stood inside, feeling my feet wiggle in their familiar environment. The professors will have a fit that Chess not following the dress code. Atlas' lips curled up at the corners, his small grin enhancing his already gorgeous features. Chess and Air Phoenix rug, they can grumble all they want, but they know not to get on our bad side. I raised an eyebrow at his comment, you think you're above the rules. He smirked at me. Cassian tapped my hip from his perch on the armchair behind me. I glanced over my shoulder to find him grinning up at me. Princess, the rules don't apply to us. I looked down at the small piece of printer paper in my hand, wondering how I was going to survive these classes. 1 from the beginning, the history of wolf shifters and the first packs. 2. Basic shifting 101-3. Shifter defense 4. Learning the lore 5. Study hall 6. Living from the land, medicinal review. A few normal classes that everyday college students would take were mixed in, like English and psychology. But I was told by Cassian that those classes didn't really count at the academy like the main curriculum ones did, which was a bummer considering that I had absolutely no idea what any of these classes were about. The only 2 classes I was excited for were the lore and medicinal ones. Cassian and Atlas bid us adieu the moment we stepped inside this grand castle-like building. My overstimulated brain barely hearing their goodbyes as I took in the hauntingly beautiful academy that could have given Hogwarts a run for its money. Crescent Celestial Academy. School for the Shifter lie inclined, as I like to call it, was every bit what I expected from a college that housed some of the most deadly shifters in the world. The atmosphere was dark Gothic mixed with a unique kind of elegance that somehow worked well together. The moment I stepped into the front office with Phoenix at my side, the secretary at the front desk shot me a look that was a mix of surprise and awe. I squirmed, uncomfortable at her scrutinization. Despite my uncomfortability, I shot her my best smile. Hello, I said pleasantly. I was wondering if you had a minute to talk. The woman all but jumped out of her chair, speed walking toward the front desk. Yes, of course. She stuttered. What would you like to chat about, Ms. Lupine? I gritted my teeth at the use of my new last name, not really liking the sound of it, but understanding why they insisted on you. I was, after all, to them, a Lupine. I was wondering if there were any rooms available in the girls' dorms. I asked pleasantly, as you know. I'm new here and am not really comfortable sharing my space with 3 creepy men. Phoenix let out a deep chuckle which had the secretary jumping up in surprise at the sound. She glanced hesitantly at him. Unfortunately, Ms. Lupine. The girls' dorms are full for this term. Besides, even if they weren't otherwise occupied, the school isn't allowed to permit an heir to live in the campus dorms, since that would require establishing new safety protocols for not only you but the students around you. I could practically feel Phoenix's haughty smirk from right next to me. I frowned at her answer. And the academy docent have a problem with a young innocent woman being roomed with 3 men. She shook her head, giving me a confused look. We have no problem with the heirs sharing their compound together. I reared my head back in shock. Why the hell not? She asked, startled. Whatever do you mean? Phoenix stepped forward, giving the secretary a small smile. I got it from here, Janice, he said, knocking on the front desk. Please let our professors know that I'm giving the newest heir a tour. Of course, Alpha Fenrir. She inclined her head. I'll also get another ta to cover your morning courses. My eyes widened at her words, my head automatically swinging to the man next to me. You're ta. Of course. He glanced down at me. In the top of my class and only the best teach at Crescent Academy. But you're a student. I'm almost done, he said. I graduate in the spring and will take over my dad's position next fall. He ushered me out of the office ahead of him, nodding to the left for me to follow him. As you know, Crescent Academy was founded fairly soon after the Penta was formed. He strode through the empty halls with all the confidence in the world. The leaders at the time thought it would be best for the new generation of shifters to have a safe space, to them to learn what it meant to not only be a part of a pack, but to also come into their own as shifters. Before the academy, new shifters would find it hard to navigate not only the heightened emotions that came with shifting but also the control of their wolves. He pointed out classrooms and large gathering areas as we walked by. What kind of heightened emotions? I asked, and how does that help with controlling your wolf? Anger, sadness, or even just plain old happiness could give your wolf an opportunity to break free at any moment. He explained, if you can't control your wolf, then you pose a serious threat to those around you. While we expect accidents to happen with new wolves, we try to minimize as much damage as we can because conflict between shifters can affect pack dynamics. And how many packs attend this place? All of them. What? I gaped. All packs from around the world attend Crescent Academy, he said, and being heirs means that we each control our different territories full of them. So what's the difference between heir and an alpha? I asked back there. The secretary called you an alpha instead of an heir. Alpha is the leader of a pack, he said technically. I am an alpha. All the heirs are. Our parents handed the reins over to their packs to us by the time we turned 18. How old are you guys anyway? I found myself asking if you're about to graduate. You can't be older than 22. 23, he corrected. I just turned 23. Atlas is 21 and Cassie and just turned 20 last month. Old men. The lot of you, I muttered as we passed by the cafeteria. The smell of bacon and waffles wafting from the door making my stomach growl. Are we done yet? Not even close, princess. I raised my eyebrow at the nickname. Okay, kidnapper, I rolled my eyes. Can we at least take a break? I'm starving and the fashion dilemma from this morning made me skip breakfast. We just started, he pointed out. We have a few more hours to go. I gaped at him. Hours? He nodded. If you think I'm bitchy now, wait until I get angry. I warned you don't want to see me when I'm angry. You're telling me your personality gets worse? He asked, generally surprised. I smirked at him. You're telling me your little file didn't make note of that? He sighed, looking down at his watch. Classes let out in 5 minutes. Perfect. I exclaimed. Gives me just enough time to grab a plate and go. 1 minute. I grinned widely up at him, which had him stare down at me with a quizzical look on his face. I took a step towards the food court when I paused, looking back at him as the nagging question from this morning popped into my mind. When you turn into your wolf, where do your clothes go? He choked on air. What? I've read shifter romances before, I said, tapping my forefinger on my chin, and I've always wondered where the clothes go when you shift. Do they just tear right off you, or is there like special kind of magic when your clothes are miraculously spared? Do you constantly have to worry about clothes, or do you care if everyone sees everything? Biscuits and all. My God, he pinched the bridge of his nose. Do you not have a filter? What normal person asks that? I think we've already established that I about as far away from normal as possible, I snorted. But seriously, where do your clothes go? Our clothes are unspared when we shift, he finally answered. When we shift, we had to take them off beforehand, or, if we're on school grounds, the academy outfits the forests with these that blend with the trees that holds extra clothes. I nodded. Cool. He sent another weird look my way, about to ask something when his phone rang. My eyes snapped on the little rectangle. You have a phone? We all have phones here, he snorted, glancing at the screen. What do you think? We're heathens. I cracked a smile at his words. When can I get my phone back? He stayed silent. My eyes jumped to his as I repeated the question. His lips pursed as he, once again, chose not to answer. I gaped at him. You're not even going to give me my phone back? You don't need it, he said firmly. Anything you need or want, you'll tell me and I'll take care of it. I want a phone now. What's the point of telling you about something I want if you're not willing to give it to me? I threw my hands up in the air. What about my friends? What about them? How am I supposed to contact them? He smirked at me the old-fashioned way. I blinked up at him, not understanding his meaning. His smirk widened into a devious grin. Send them letter with our messenger pigeons. My eyes wide, and you use messenger pigeons here. No, his grin turned into a full-blown laugh. Did you really believe that? I narrowed my eyes, scowling at him. You're such a dick. His phone rang again, and this time, he answered it, keeping that god-awful annoying smirk on his stupid face. 1 minute, he mouthed, holding up a finger to emphasize his point. Get your food and hurry that ass back to me. I'll be waiting. Chapter 10. 1 minute, he mouthed, holding up a finger to emphasize his point. Get your food and hurry that ass back to me. I'll be waiting. I shot him a look, turning on my heel and heading into the breakfast line. My stomach growled at the trays and trays of delicious-looking food, my eyes snagging on the custom omelet and waffle bar. Oh my god, I groaned, grabbing a Togo box and peeling food into so high I'm sure it went close. I think I'd gone to heaven. An asshole and chuckle sounded from behind me, and I turned my head to find a handsome guy staring at me in amusement. His long dark hair was pulled back into a small ponytail at the back of his head, his sea-green eyes looking at me in equal parts mirth and surprise. I smiled at him, glancing down at the wheelchair he was currently in. Nice ride. This old thing. He moved them from side to side, the sunlight glinting off the custom-painted frame. It's not as nice as the one I'm working on. I looked at him in surprise, reaching for another serving spoon as I heaped another scoop of home-style potatoes in my box. You make wheelchairs. I make my wheelchairs, he corrected, reaching for a box and the egg scooper. You should see what I can do with my wrench. His voice trailed off at his last words, making me glance at him. His cheeks were pink as a blush streaked across his face. I bit my lip at his reaction, barely holding in my giggle. Was that supposed to be an innuendo or something? I asked after I couldn't take it any longer, full out laughing as my words caused his expression to shift from barely concealed horror. Because it is. I don't think I want to see anyone's wrenches anytime soon. He groaned, dropping his head back on the top of his chair. That's so not what I meant. I sent him a wink, walking a little further down the buffet line. I know, I grinned at him. I was just pulling your leg. Ah, so the new girl's got a sense of humor, he said, grinning as he followed me. How refreshing to know that not everyone is either a total douche or a part of the sympathy committee. I curtsied with a dramatic flair. Why, thank you, good sir. His grin wide. And so, what's your name, new girl? I stepped towards the counter and was about to pull out my wallet when the guy's arm shot out quickly as he handed the cashier a black card. I paused my movements to send him a nasty side. I can pay for my own meals. He didn't bat an eye. No, you can, but I'm about 50 points away from scoring 200 travel miles. Your food plus mine would send me over that limit. So in actuality, you're doing me a favor. I still don't like the thought of someone buying my food. I pointed it out, or having to owe someone. Think of it as a welcome to school gift. He shook his head. Now, are you going to tell me your name willingly, or will I have to earn it by throwing some of my favorite jokes your way? His upbeat attitude was seemingly contagious because I couldn't help a small smile from gracing my lips. Nova, I finally said. Like the star. I raised an eyebrow. And your name? Those sea-green eyes of his took on a mischievous glint. How badly do you want to know, new girl? I smirked at his little game, scrolling my features quickly. Not bad enough, I say with a shrug as I grabbed my boxes and twirled on my feet, striding towards the exit. See you later. Wait. He called out, and I could hear the tires on his wheelchair squeak on the marble floor as he made his way quickly towards me. Hey. Wait up. No, I don't think I will. I called over my shoulder. Thanks for the trade. You're really going to run away from a guy in a wheelchair? He called after me. Those legs of yours walk faster than what my arms can wheel. I paused my steps, sending a glare over my shoulder. You are so not using the wheelchair card on me. I got you to stop, didn't I? He exhaled, a single piece of hair falling out of his neatly pulled back hair. I think the wheelchair cards works for me in some cases. I shot him a mean glare, but all he did was grin at me and hold out a hand. In Pluto, like the non-existent planet. I cocked my head, extending my own hand to shake his or the animated dog. The god, actually. He laughed, but most people guess the dog. You're probably the first person to guess the planet. I laughed, "Where you going in such a hurry, new girl?" he asked, his eyes glittering. "Why aren't you eating your food while it's hot?" "Because I'm currently in the middle of a stupid tour." I rolled my eyes. "And why aren't you in class?" "I thought it ended in 5 minutes. I'm allowed to get out of class 10 minutes early to beat the crowds." He gestured to his wheelchair. "The hallways are a bitch to navigate with a million wolves sauntering around." I groaned. "Don't tell me that. Not a crowd person." "Nope," I shook my head. "Not even a people person in general." He was about to say something else when a familiar voice rang out behind me. "I was gone for less than a minute," he said gruffly, "and somehow you still disobey." He stopped talking when he noticed Pluto was right behind me, looking between the two of us with a curious expression in that turquoise gaze of his. Emerald on Phoenix inclined his head. "I see you've met the newest addition to Crescent Academy." Pluto nodded, sending me a grin. "Yes, rather refreshing to be around." I snorted. "You make me sound like a lemonade." His eyes lit up. "If the wheel fits." I laughed at his stupid joke, making his eyes light up even more. Phoenix huffed, wrapping his meaty hand around my upper arm. "If you'll excuse us," he said, "we have a tour we need to continue." I sent a smile over my shoulder, waving to Pluto as Phoenix all but dragged me out of the cafeteria. The turquoise eyes glimmered with an unknown emotion as a crooked smile graced his face. "So down," I grumbled as Phoenix continued to drag me down the hall. "I'd really like for my arm to remain in its socket so that I can eat this food." He stopped suddenly, whirling on me with a nasty glare. "Stay away from Pluto," he ordered. "That kid is nothing but trouble." Him. I scrunched my nose in confusion. "He seems sweet and funny. That kid has broken more hearts around here than there are female shifters." He shook his head. "Apparently that smile and charm of his has a way of worming its way into girls' hearts." I was talking to him. I rolled my eyes, not begging him to date me. "Just stay away from him." He gritted his teeth and turned away from me. I grumbled, flipping open my box before scooping a handful of potatoes and eggs into my mouth. Apparently, now that I had the food in my hands, this asshole wouldn't let me eat it. "Where are we going?" I muttered around my bite of food. "And when were we going to stop?" He shot me a dirty look, pointing towards a large stadium-like building. "That's the Fenrir Coliseum, but it's known around here by everyone as the Cages." "Why the Cages?" "You'll see," he said gruffly, stomping towards the arena. "And whatever you do, don't touch the fences." Why he didn't answer me, instead making me follow him inside. He expertly navigated through the Coliseum, making me think he's been here too many times before from the way he knew exactly where he was going, which turns to making everything. As he led me into the larger arena floor, I gawked when I saw the hundreds of cages lining what would be the gladiators' entrances onto the arena floor. "What is this place?" "Our shifting center," he said. "It's where all our shifters practice their shifting, whether it be for the first time or the 100th time. It's also where we hold our tournaments." "Tournaments?" I blinked up at him. "What kind of tournaments?" "Think of them like flag football but with wolves instead of humans," he said slowly. "But instead of capturing the opposite team's flag, you had to incapacitate them or make them submit on their own until there are no members left on the opposing team. You start off with 5 players on each team, and every 3 minutes, one of the cages releases a competitor." He pointed towards the cages. "It's always random of which player, from which teams, gets released first, so it's essential that you make as many players from the other team submit first. And if you don't, then you risk having the max amount of players from the opposing team gunning for you," he said, "which is difficult because not even the best shifter can take on 20 players at once." 20 wolves. My eyes wide. "And 20 freaking wolves, all at once." He nodded and I took in the cages with a fresh set of eyes. "And this place doubles as a shifting center." I asked, "What does that mean?" "New shifters are unpredictable when they first experience the shift," he explained. "The heightened emotions take over and our wolves turn off the human parts of our consciousness in order to protect us from the pain and memories that come with the first shift. The cages have a dual purpose. They give us enough room to shift, but not so much where new shifters are able to ram the gates or rip open the doors. The fencing is also endowed with electrical currents that intensify when a part of a shifter's body touches it, forcing that shifter to either remain stock still or in human form." I gave him a horrifying look. "You torture the students here." He shook his head. "The students are aware of the cage's purposes. They willingly sign the waivers before each semester. What if they don't want to sign the safety waivers? Everyone signs the waivers. I narrowed my eyes at him, but what if they don't? Then their admittance into the academy will be put on hold. His lips twisted. But if the school admittance fills us before they're able to make them, then they lose their spot. Then they really don't have a choice when you look at it, I muttered, eyeing the cages like they were going to animate to life and chase me whether they want to or not. They have to sign that waiver or else they'll lose their spot to the most prestigious university in the world. Either not hearing my words or choosing to ignore them. Phoenix continued on his little practice tour spiel. Your intro into shifting class will be held here, he said, glancing at me. So I hoped you remembered how to get here, because I will not be saving your ass from Coach Calhoun's wrath when you're late. I glared at him. Dickhead. The moment I stepped through the airhouse, my stomach grumbled as loud as a roaring dragon. As I took in the most delicious smells, the tour absolutely drained me, and while I didn't go to classes today like I expected, because apparently Phoenix decided it was a good idea for me to know the layout of the academy before I started to attend classes, my body still felt like it was hit by a big rig and I was exhausted. Latin music sounded from inside the kitchen, and the closer I got, the more recognized the familiar tune. I watched in equal parts surprise and amusement as I took in the scene before me. Atlas was bobbing his head to the music as he stirred something that smelled absolutely delicious in a big pot. Cassian munched on an apple as he sat haphazardly on a kitchen stool, scrolling through his laptop. The moment I entered the kitchen, both of their eyes snapped toward me. I took a step back, startled at their reaction. Cassian's eyes lit up as he shut his laptop closed. Princess, he cooed at me, you're finally home. What are you guys doing? My boothang is cooking me some dinner. Cassian shot Atlas a smug smile. Shooting an air kiss his way, isn't he the sweetest? My lips twitched as Atlas scowled at him, throwing a large and heavy-looking wooden spoon his way. Cassian dodged it just in time, the spoon clattering to the floor with a large boomoy. His Mexican mother is showing. Cassian cried out. Watch out before he gets his size 15 shoes and throws them at you. Phoenix chooses the moment to walk in from behind me, freaking shirtless and sweaty, walking to the fridge and grabbing a water bottle before walking up to Cassian and slapping the back of his head. Stop antagonizing the guy that cooks your food, he said before sending Atlas a pointed look at you. Stop throwing shit. The last time you threw something, you put two holes in the wall and broke our window. Atlas turned off the stove, reaching for what I assumed were the plates, right next to the stove. As long as he doesn't say stupid shit, I won't throw anything. He paused, taking on a smug look. I can't say the same for poisoning him, though. See that, princess? He winned, walking over to me and throwing a muscular arm over my shoulder. They're being mean to me. My lips twitched as I untied the stupid school tie from my neck. 3 sets of eyes followed the movement, making me stare at them in confusion. What? Phoenix was the first to avert his eyes, followed by Atlas. Cassian's eyes were the only ones who remained on mine. His lips upturned in a small smile. Who would have thought you'd be exactly what we needed around here, princess? His smile turned into a full-blown grin. I can't wait to see how exactly you shake things up. Chapter 11 Nova Nix. I felt the prickle of awareness the moment I stepped into my room. There was a suspicious lump's-sized shape in the middle of my bed, surrounding by my blankets and comforter. My shoulders tensed when that lump-shaped thing started to move. I swear to God, if those assholes out there were P-ranking me, then I was going to throw more than a wooden spoon at their heads. More like something sharp and pointy, and I wouldn't miss. With stiff fingers, I gripped the blankets and yanked them off of my bed. I cried out in shock. Brutus. I threw my arms around his thick neck, plunging my fingers in his gray wrinkly fur. Oh my, I can't believe you're here. He perked up at my voice, those cloudy eyes of his seeking me out from the sound of my voice. How did you get here, sweet boy? I sniffled, wiping the stupid tear that managed to escape at seeing the last piece of home I had. Atlas had him camping out in his room for the night. Cassian's familiar voice. I'm surprised you didn't hear all of this poor guy's whining. He really missed you. I turned to find Cassian leaning against my doorframe, regarding me with an unknown emotion in his green eyes. I turned back to my sweet dog, bending down and touching my forehead to his. I missed him more. I kissed the sharp point of his head. An after effect caused by his abusive previous owners. He doesn't like being away from any of us longer than a few hours. Cassian nodded his head. That might be the reason I found Atlas passed out on the floor next to this poor guy. He was trying to comfort him. Brutus snuggled closer into my side, nudging my hand with his sharp head. I hummed. What? I never took Atlas as an animal person. Cassian snorted. Aren't we all considered animal people, princess? My lips twitched at the remark. I thought they sent him with my mom and brothers. I closed my eyes when Brutus flipped onto his side and pawed the air, motioning for me to continuously rub his belly. Why didn't they send him with them? You don't want him here. Cassian asked quietly. You didn't like the surprise. Of course I want him here. My eyes snapped to his butt from what the council was implying. Anything from my old life was considered distraction. Why would they let me keep my dog if they would let me stay in contact with my family? The council doesn't know us here, Cassian said. And if it's all right with you, we'd like to keep it that way, considering pets are officially off limits at Crescent Academy. Apparently there's enough wild animals running around as it is. While he tried to play it off as no big deal and make light of the situation, I saw through his thinly veiled facade. Whose idea was this? I asked, having a sneaking suspicion of already knowing the answer if it was the Pentas. Whose idea was it to bring my dog here? He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I blinked, confirming my thoughts. It was your idea. But why? He shrugged. You looked like you could use a friend. With those final words, he disappeared into the hall and headed towards his room, leaving me to dissect not only his words but one of the most thoughtful gestures anyone has ever given to me. Come on, bud, I whispered. It's time for Bida. The moment I stepped into my closest, I was immediately assaulted by an overwhelming amount of clothes. What held a few items of clothing yesterday, mainly to uniforms and a couple sets of jeans, t-shirts, and satin PJs, now was filled with different styles of clothes, ranging from designer to generic brands and then some. Don't even get me started on the shoes. From heels to a rainbow assortment of docks. It seemed like whoever bought me these outfits had also taken into account the matching footwear. My mouth gaped open when I also saw the brand new uniforms, these ones looking more luxurious and form-fitting than the last ones. My finger grazed over the small golden pin on the collar of my blazer, 5 little paw prints arranged into what looked a pentagonal shape. Before I even had time to question what that meant, the alarm on my phone rang. My eyes widened when I realized I only had 10 minutes to get dressed and move my ass out the door. Damn it. Looks like you'll be skipping breakfast. Again. 1. The beginning. The history of wolf shifters and the first packs 2. Basic shifting 101-3. Shifter defense 4. Learning the lore 5. Study hall 6. Living from the land. Medicinal review. I was late. On my first official day. Wonderful. I wanted to crawl into a hole and die when I opened the classroom door to my History of Wolf Shifters class, and every onus eyes immediately shifted to me. The professor ushered me inside. You must be our new student. How excellent. Please, take a seat in any free available spot. We just started our lesson. My face burned even more as I had to walk across the large expansive classroom. That could double as a freaking auditorium with how big it was. I would have thought it was the auditorium if Phoenix hadn't shown me on the tour that all classrooms in Crescent Academy were built like this, considering that they needed as much space as they could in order to house dozens and dozens of shifters per course. The moment I passed a particular group of girls in the front row, whispers started flying around from all directions. That's her. She doesn't seem like much. Dude, just hotter than I expected for someone that hung out in Norm World. So we're Seth's going to fucking flip her lid. I bet her wolf is super strong. I frowned at that last statement, tucking myself into the corner seat at the farthest row in the back. Class, the professor clapped his hands. Let's focus back on the topic at hand. He sat on the corner of his desk and glanced down at his open planner. Now where were we? By the time lunch came around, I was exhausted, both physically and mentally, because while the stares, whispers, and assessing gazes were a lot. The classes were even harder than I expected. And while I didn't expect things to be easy, since I wasn't born with shifter knowledge like the other students were, I didn't know just how quite hard this shifter thing could be. Harder than it sounds, believe it or not. Especially for someone who came from a shifter family like Idida. A soft voice said from behind me, "I think you're sitting at the wrong table." I turned my head and found a small girl standing behind me, her expression shy and eyes downcast as she fidgeted in her Mary Jane shoes. Her dark auburn hair was braided neatly down her back, her uniform hung off her small frame like they were 2 sizes too big. "Oh, sorry," I gathered my bags. "I didn't know that this table was taken." "It's not that," she said quickly, placing her tray down on the table. "It's just that it would be social self-destruction to sit with me." I paused, looking as her cheeks turned red. "Why what?" she asked, startled. "Why would it be social self-destruction to sit with you?" I asked, sitting back down in my seat. She blinked at me. "Because you're an heir, so." "And Imogene," she said like it explained everything. This time, I blinked up at her. "A what?" She sat down hesitantly. "No one explained the hierarchy here to you." I shook my head. "No one's explained much to me except the bare minimum." I let out a humorless laugh. "Apparently, it's on a need-to-know basis. But I don't think I should be the one to tell you." Her expression turned hesitant. "Please. I begged. You're the first person here that seems genuine, and I much rather have the truth come from you than have a twisted version come from someone else. You've only known me for a few minutes." She whirled the loose thread of her blazer around her finger, momentarily cutting of the circulation, before releasing it and freeing her finger. "I could be the biggest liar you've ever met. I have a pretty good bullshit meter." I smiled at her. "And mine is telling me that you're not like that." She gaped at me for a moment before a look of resolve set in her blue eyes, her spine stealing as she came to a decision. My lips twitched. "The first thing you should know about Crescent Academy is the hierarchy." Her voice was low as she spoke the words, her eyes flickering to the students in the surrounding tables next to us. "There's a caste system here, and as much as administration likes to pretend it doesn't exist, that system determines who and how much these people are willing to get away with it." Her lips pursed. "The higher you're up in the ladder, the more you able to get away with. You're basically untouchable." "Just how high is this metaphorical ladder?" I reared my head back. "And how much can these people get away with?" "There's 4 tiers," she sighed, "each one more power hungry than the last." "That bad?" She nodded. "First you have the pures. Those who come from families who are only from the most purest of shifter packs." She nodded to a packed table filled with those from different breeds of life, all gorgeous and laughing with each other like there was to care in the world. "Next you have the halves or half-bloods," she continued, "those who have one parent that is 100% wolf shifter and the other is another type of shifter. However, to be accepted into the academy, the wolf gene must be dominant gene in the child born of these 2 shifters." "There are other shifters out there besides wolves?" I asked, surprised. "Just how many shifters are there?" "Not as many as you do think." She listed them off on her fingers. "Bears, dragons, panthers, kitsunes." Holy shit, I leaned back in my seat. "What the hell is a kitsune?" Her eyes widened at my words. "You really don't know anything about our world, do you?" I shook my head, picking at my plate. "I really don't." She shot me a pitying smile that I chose to ignore. "Next you have the genes." She changed the subject. "Those of us born to purebred wolf shifters but have a mutation in our DNA and makes it impossible to shift into our wolves. We have plenty of the shifter gene to be admitted to the academy, even more than the half-bloods. But due to our inability to shift, we aren't considered worthy enough." "What's the 4th one?" I asked, cocking my head to the side. "You said there were 4 castes in this place." "What's the last one?" "The most rarest one of all," she whispered. "The heirs. Descendants from the original 5 packs. They're really that important." "Yes, you are," she corrected me with a smile. "You're the leaders of our community." I coughed, rolling my eyes. "I think you're exaggerating on the importance of these heirs. I don't know if you know this, but ever since you've stepped into the lunchroom, every onus eyes have been on you." I gasped, my own eyes widening. "That's not true." I turned and almost immediately those hundreds of eyes who were on me immediately darted away. The only pair that remained were a set of brown eyes, so dark they almost looked black. A scowl was on her face as she glared at me with such hatred in her eyes. It wasn't until the boy sitting next to her, who had the same dark eyes and hair color as her, nudged her, whispering something in her ear. "Who's that?" I asked, nodding towards the pure blood table, the girl, right in the middle. "That's the worst Kyoto fowl," she whispered. "Der fowl's niece. That boy next to her is her brother. You two. And their heirs too." She shook her head. "They would be if their parentage was in question." "What do you mean?" "Word has it that heir fowl's nephew, the heir before her, had a wife who was a bit promiscuous," she said. "Because of that, their legitimacy status is being questioned by the packs, especially since heir fowl is retiring once you two graduates." I glanced at them again, and while her gaze was no longer on me, I could still feel the hatred radiating off her in waves, aimed directly at me for some reason. "Can they hear us?" I murmured, looking back at my new friend. "Can they hear what we're saying?" She shook her head. "Imbued in the tables, our doom rooms, or the professor's private offices are little fragments of sound," she explained, "and unlike the name implies, the stones make it impossible for others to eavesdrop on private conversations." A shadow fell over the table, and we both simultaneously turned our heads to see Atlas standing there. Jade. Atlas acknowledged my new friend before turning his attention to me. "Nova." Jade looked like she was a second away from fainting at Atlas' attention. "If you'd excuse us," he nodded for Jade to head out. "We have some things we need to discuss." Jade gathered her things quickly, scrambling as far away from the table as soon as possible. "Of course," she stuttered, gazing down at the floor before glancing up at me. "They'll see you later." I smiled softly at her, waving to her retreating form before turning back to the man sitting across from me. My smile faded when my gaze met his serious amber ones. "What is it?" "I'm to escort you to your final class," he said simply. "Why?" "Because this class is the hardest one of all." He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms, "and Coach is a hard ass. I'm to act as the buffer between you and everyone else." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "Why you?" "Because Coach purposely failed Cassie Ann 6 times and hates Phoenix Escats," he said. "I'm the only heir he can tolerate to be around." I was quickly leaning that one thing about Atlas was that he was never going to be someone to mince words in order to spare another feelings. He called it like he saw it, and while it was an admirable trait, I could vaguely see how it could get irritating for me going forward. Like when he opened his mouth in the next moment and says, "You can't shift." I have a feeling Coach is going to be on your ass more than the others. I thought he was supposed to remain unbiased. I frowned. "You know, as part of the faculty and all." Atlas just stared at me, not saying a word to defend the shifting professor. Right. I nodded my head, catching what he was saying without words. "I'm guessing he doesn't like non-shifters." Atlas shook his head. "He doesn't like heirs," he said. "We don't know why, but Coach is especially hard on us for some reason. Cass thinks it's just because HES and emotionals is prick." My lips twitched. "But you don't." He shrugged. "No one can understand why Coach acts the way he does." The bell rang just as I was about to ask more questions. "Come on." Atlas stood, nodding towards the cafeteria door. "Best not to be late for his class, or else he'll make you run 5 extra miles."